Why not to live in a high-rise? Worse than Pontiac Trans Sport. 00 Crash Test. June 26, 2021.
To make sure you're caught up to all the latest 00 Crash Test videos, be sure to ring that notification bell.
https://udo.b/cesb4najis. It has been confirmed that the condo building in Miami, Florida that collapsed had severe water damage that corroded rebar that caused the concrete to crack. So glad that someone I know doesn't live in a high-rise building with a leaking bathroom floor above anymore, because my worst fear of the entire floor above falling down is confirmed, assuming that it has been ongoing for years. Given that enough units have the same problem, a dozen or so other units already confirmed to have the same problem, it could lead to one bathroom falling into another, causing the entire section of the building to collapse, which would push away the rest of the slender building and cause it to also collapse. I just hate high-rises, especially after September 11, 01. Even without a disaster, so many people sharing an elevator, making people having to wait several minutes for one during rush hour and holidays, is such a hassle, especially on moving day. Having a human traffic jam within a building is a nightmare in itself. To make matters worse, the high-rises being too close to each other in Manhattan, Chicago, Hong Kong, and major Chinese cities could cause a domino effect if one building collapses. Those cities are simply way beyond overcrowded to be sustainable and are hanging by a precarious thread. A very low probability, very high impact event with a low activation potential, just one leaky bathroom floor falling onto another compromised one below, for example, could wipe out a large part of the city. The Twin Towers were lucky they didn't cause more damage just because they had a large square around it, like the condo building in Miami and most top-tier office buildings built since World War II used to act as a gateway to the city. If the planes had hit a more ordinary office tower, I feel like the impact would have been much worse due to other high-rises being in close proximity well within the falling range of the tower. This is where the zoning of most cities in the U.S. west of the Mississippi River makes sense. West Coast cities are notorious for their NIMBYism, highly restricting the number of high-rises, and prohibiting high-rises from being in close proximity to one another altogether. A lot of people argue that the restrictive zoning of the urban cores of metropolitan areas out west hinders growth, but there is a big safety advantage in case of evacuation here, especially due to earthquakes. I wouldn't be surprised if Japan has similar zoning restrictions, especially that they are also prone to earthquakes, even more so than California in fact. While there are many high-rises in Tokyo and Osaka, none of them are in such close proximity to each other as to interfere with one another, like with wind flow. Historically, tall, slender buildings have indeed been rare in earthquake country, and the skyscraper boom only started in the 1980s bubble era in Japan, when both technology and quality control became sufficient to absolutely ensure safety unless there is severe negligence. Taiwan, also earthquake prone, despite being very densely populated, doesn't have many skyscrapers. Even today, and in the foreseeable future, skyscrapers are still highly restricted in zoning in the west coast of the USA and Canada, partly due to the unsolvable evacuation concerns, but more so due to the low population density, because it also applies to major Texan cities, where there aren't earthquakes. So say no to the United Nations Agenda 21, now morphed into Agenda 2030, which aims to stack and pack most people into crowded high-rise apartment buildings in cities like New York. If you value your dear life, drive this car. 1998 to 2003 Toyota Sienna, rated the best performer ever by the IIHS. Way safer than the big government, overregulated, European Union's Mercedes E-Class, BMW 5 Series, and Volvo 850/S70 from the same time.
Toyota Sienna did better overall in Insurance Institute crash test than any other vehicle tested, ever.